Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago and welcome to the first ever combined STEM Scholar and PI meeting. You can cheer for that. I want to thank you for traveling, for many of you halfway across the country, to join us for this monumental convening. I am Travis York. I am the director of the STEM Rec, or Resource and Evaluation Center, also the PI of our grant, and I'm also the director of AAAS's Inclusive STEM Ecosystems for Equity and Diversity Unit, or what we call ICED, because that's a very long title. Within AAAS, which is the American Association for the Advancement of Science. And as a very proud half-Indigenous social scientist, it's my honor to begin our gathering with a land acknowledgement. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes and respects the Indigenous peoples who have lived on the land and their ongoing relationship with it. Land acknowledgements are often given at the beginning of public events or gatherings and are especially important in the US and Canada, where the political structures are based on settler colonialism. So today, we gather on the traditional unceded homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations. Many other tribes, such as the Miami, the Ho-Chunk, the Menominee, the Sac, and the Fox, have also called this area home at different parts of time. The region has long been a center for Indigenous people to gather, trade, and maintain kinship ties. Today, Chicago is actually one of the largest urban American Indian communities in the United States. Members of the community continue to contribute to the life in this city and celebrate their heritage, practice traditions, and care for the land and waterways. It is thrilling to have so many STEM undergraduate and graduate scholars, PIs, co-PIs, and program staff, and our other partners together in one space at one time. While the pandemic provided many lessons, one that has been clear to our team is just how unique and important in-person gatherings are, in addition to hybrid and virtual engagements. So a quick question. How many of you, is it your first time at an STEM PI or scholar meeting? All right. Well, welcome. We are very, very excited that you're here. I have another question for you. How many of you are familiar with AAAS? Okay, great. That was less than half the hands, which means that most of you, this might be your first engagement with AAAS, which is a joy for me. So for those of you that are less familiar or engaging with our association for the first time, AAAS is actually the world's largest general scientific or STEM professional association. We are also the publishers of the Science family of journals, and we have a long history committed to increasing opportunities in STEM for all people that dates back nearly a half century. Now, regardless of whether you're new to AAAS or a longtime member, we have something exciting to share with you at this meeting. This year, we began piloting a new type of membership called Elemental Membership, which is being offered for free to select groups of students and scientists. And I am delighted to share with you all that AAAS's membership team has chosen our STEM community for this opportunity. So our membership team is here with us in Chicago, here with us at this meeting, and we will actually have a booth in the exhibit hall where you can claim your free Elemental membership to join AAAS. No strings attached. We are excited to expand our membership beyond just dues-paying members, which are usually tied to the physical print production of our journals, and which most of you have in your library systems. This will give you a way to engage with the association. It makes you a full voting member of our association, and you get to have voice and decision-making in that process. So I encourage you to stop by the AAAS table. Also, our membership team has a lot of swanky swag, so I would strongly encourage you to, even if you don't want to claim your membership, check out the swag. It's good. I heard, I don't know how many of you this might be super exciting for, but I heard earlier that there was several boxes of socks, AAAS socks. I am jealous because I have been asking for AAAS socks for 4 years, and I have no AAAS socks. So if anybody gets a pair, get one for me too, please. So I'm so excited that we're here. I'm excited that we can join together in what I really do think will be a pretty incredible meeting. Now, I would be remiss if I did not speak about the fact that there's a lot that's been going on this past week. Trust me that as someone who lives and works in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., I know that presidential elections are hard on people, and that no matter your political or apolitical perspective, and regardless of your desired election outcome, these can be stressful moments in our nation's history. I ask that each of you be kind and respectful to one another. Please be patient with each other as our community works through the complexities, both positive and negative, for STEM and higher education that every change in administration brings. I will remind you that our team has prepared a set of resources, also located in your guidebook app where all of the information for this meeting exists, to support authentic and professional discourse and what we hope will be a wonderful and lively exchange of ideas that will stretch our minds over the next several days. Those are, 1, tips for authentic and inclusive engagement aimed at supporting people who are newer to professional conferences, especially if this is your first or second professional science meeting. And 2, for all of our presenters, we also have a resource available called the Workshop Facilitator Sheet to support effective moderation and concurrent sessions. As a former professor who has taught many history of American higher education courses, I notice an incredible similarity between the converging factors of our times and those in higher education that we experienced at the end of World War II, a time of astonishing transformation and evolution of America's higher education ecosystem. Now, my team has already told me I cannot launch into an American history of higher education lecture. I'm sorry for you because it would be amazing. But what I do want to encourage you to consider is that I do believe that we are living in a golden age of science and education. As I look around this room, I see glimpses of the incredible change makers that I believe can and will usher in an unbelievably bright and prosperous future. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be hard work to get there. But as one of my favorite past presidents of AAAS once said, Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has. This program, our AAAS STEM Rec, or Resources and Evaluation Center, is one of about 24 initiatives that our IC team leads, all of which seek to reimagine and reconstruct the STEM education and workforce development continuum. Across our work, we aim to remove barriers and increase opportunities for all people in STEM because the body of scientific evidence is clear that when science is broadly inclusive of people with various backgrounds, perspectives, and lived experiences, not only do we do better science, we innovate at higher rates and we problem solve more completely. The US STEM enterprise is the fastest growing market in the world with a demand that exceeds our rate of talent development. In other words, the progress and prosperity of our communities, our nation, and the world depend on the abilities of phenomenal STEM educators and researchers who can cultivate a larger and more diverse and excellent community of STEM professionals. And we here at AAAS are quite frankly honored to support that goal as a key part of our mission and strategic priorities. The overarching goal of the STEM Rec is to increase the number of talented students from low-income backgrounds who obtain degrees in STEM and enter the STEM workforce. And the annual STEM Scholars convening is a critical piece in carrying out that goal. And as I mentioned before, this year we are energized to be hosting a co-located Scholars and PI meeting for the first time. To be honest, we jumped at the opportunity to bring these two incredible groups together at this meeting because we believe that there is something special about students, faculty, and leaders working in tandem, and we cannot wait to see what that spark happens and what occurs here over the next few days. Also new this year, and for the first time that we have ever done this, our team ran an STEM Scholar design competition for this year's meeting logo. We were so grateful for the incredible engagement by scholars in this contest, and we're very impressed by the artwork that we received. Several of the entries are displayed on the slides. If any of the creators of these incredible pieces of art are in the room, please feel free to stand up so that we can applaud your efforts. It's very bright in here. Yeah. The winning logo selected for this year's meeting, whose design, quote, embodies the power of networking in STEM, inspired by Chicago's dynamic spirit, was created by Julie Ware, an STEM scholar at the Savannah State University. Julie, can you come join me on stage? Yes, please come on up with me. Julie's design symbolizes collaboration and emphasizes transformative connections. The elements of the design reflect the growing network of STEM scholars, the vibrant atmosphere of the STEM Scholars and PI meeting, and the power of meaningful connections that can open doors to limitless opportunities. On your tables and chairs, for those of you at the very back of the room, there are a number of pins, buttons. I'm from the South, so sometimes I say, like, a pen and a pen are the same to me. Pin. Please enjoy these buttons. These are of Julie's logo. We hope that you can enjoy them to commemorate this incredible event. And we're very happy to honor Julie with the certificate and a small prize. Thank you so much. I have your prize at my table. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
phenomenal.
Thank you.
So please take these pens. I'll also remind you that Christmas and several other holidays are just around the corner if you're looking for a couple of gifts. Just saying, it's pretty nice swag. Again, thank you to Julie for her thoughtful and creative contributions to this year's meeting. And thank you to all the scholars who participated in the logo contest. I encourage you to please keep an eye out for future opportunities to share your artistic talents, especially for next year's meeting. For scholars, this meeting is a unique opportunity to meet and build relationships with other students in STEM programs, learn about a wide range of STEM career pathways, engage in activities to grow your professional development, as well as build new relationships with potential graduate programs, employers, and internship providers. We hope that you will take full advantage of the opportunities for you here. For PIs, co-PIs, other project leaders. This meeting allows you to engage in workshops and activities to enrich your STEM programs, to share and learn about effective STEM education and workforce strategies, to connect with one another and NSF program officers, form new collaborations and mentoring relationships, and present about your successes and the project you're still working on. I want to take a moment to thank and acknowledge the full team of people who have helped make this meeting and our program possible. So I will start by acknowledging the full AAAS STEM Rec team. You can see their incredible, beautiful faces on the screen. And I want to make you aware of who they are so that you can also reach out to them with any questions that you might have over the course of this conference. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to help make sure that you're able to engage as best you can in this meeting. I also want to remind you now that at the end of this meeting, you will have the opportunity to share with us your feedback about how we can make this meeting better in the future. I'll tell you more about that on Sunday, but I already want to plant in your minds the idea that as you have different ideas, as you have different inspiration for things that could be, better or different, or things that you might think are missing, please jot those ideas down, because so many of the things that you'll be hearing about that are new for this year directly came from scholars from last year's meeting. So we do not play around your feedback. We take it to heart and we use it to implement for future. So please be thinking about that as we continue. I also want to give a special thanks to the members of the STEM Advisory Committee for their ongoing guidance and support. This group of advisors really helps us think about how we can best connect with programs and program leads and scholars, and really try to make sure that we have a broad representation of STEM programs across the country in different types of institutions and contexts. I would like to thank and acknowledge our NSF STEM program officers, especially the lead and co-lead STEM POs. I know many of you were just with them in an NSF business meeting. We work very closely with these colleagues in planning this meeting, and there are also a handful of program officers and NSF staff in the audience that are also here not only because of their support of STEM, but their support of scholars and PIs like you. I'll take a quick moment to ask that any NSF program officers or staff, if you don't mind, please standing so that, one, we can see you, but also so that we can acknowledge you and your support of us. Finally, we are incredibly thankful for the contributions of our Career and Education Fair exhibitors who are here to share employment, internship, and graduate study opportunities with scholars. You all will have 2 opportunities to engage with an incredibly dynamic set of exhibitors during our career and exhibit fairs and poster sessions. One will be tonight, directly after this plenary, and we'll have another session tomorrow. We're so thrilled that this year, we started the career and exhibit hall and graduate exhibit hall last year for the first time, and we set for ourselves a goal of having of doubling the number of exhibitors that we had last year. I am very proud of the team, especially Erica Wood, if you see her on our team, who was spearheading this part of our process. We have more than accomplished that goal. There are, I think, almost or right at 50 exhibitors. Yes, I'm getting the yes, 50. 50 exhibitors that have joined us this year, and we are thrilled that these are institutions and industry leaders and nonprofits that are so excited to come and chat with you all and talk to you about their offerings and opportunities. I have a couple housekeeping items. Please make sure that you have access to our meeting app, which is in Guidebook. At registration, we have QR codes with the pass key so that if any of you haven't been able to download Guidebook, please make sure that we connect you with that because it will be your source of information for the next couple of days. It's also a powerful way to connect with presenters, with exhibitors, with NSF program officers, and with colleagues that you meet, and you have perhaps an incredibly engaging conversation over some, spring rolls at the poster session, and you think, oh, I should follow up with them because maybe we could research together. So please use the app. You can create a customized schedule if you're a planner like me and want to look at the concurrent sessions for tomorrow ahead of time and carefully calculate the way you're going to traverse through the conference, you can do that. Or if you're more like my husband, let the Spirit lead you tomorrow and you can just make your way. I also want to let you know that please let my team or myself know if you have any questions or concerns that arise throughout the meeting. You'll have the opportunity again to provide feedback to us, and we really want to emphasize that your feedback is really important. Now, before I introduce our next speaker, we have a special message from AAAS's CEO, Sudip Parikh, who was incredibly regretful that his schedule didn't allow him to attend this year. He actually was for days working with me and his executive assistant to change international travel because he so badly wanted to be here with you all. He said that this is one of his favorite events, and so he was really sad. But we thankfully, through the power of video, have a message from him.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the 2024 STEM Scholars and PI meeting in Chicago. My name is Sudip Parikh, and I have the privilege of serving as the CEO of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or AAAS, and as the executive publisher of the Science family of journals. I'm so sorry that I can't make it to join you this year, but I wanted to welcome you all and talk about why this meeting is so important. I used to dream about what it would have been like to live through one of the golden ages of science. You know what I'm talking about, Einstein's great year in 1905, or the elucidation of molecular biology throughout the 1960s. But after 5 years as CEO of AAAS, I now realize that this is the golden era of science. We know more about our universe, our planet, and ourselves than ever before. We also know that science is our greatest hope to build on the opportunities and to address the challenges, the existential challenges of our time. We know that to rise to meet the challenges of this era, we're going to need to draw on talented people from everywhere and with every background into the sciences. Diversity of thought derived from a diversity of background, geography, and identity are inextricably linked with scientific excellence. AAAS has an almost 5-decade history of advancing scientific excellence by removing barriers and increasing opportunities for everybody in STEM. Since 1975, we've conducted extensive research, organized convenings and programs, and leveraged learning across the field, all in support of increasing the opportunity for all people to participate in STEM. I especially want to welcome this year's STEM Talented Scholars to the summit. You are the future of STEM, and we hope that you use this convening to engage your colleagues, build your professional networks, attend sessions and professional development workshops, and explore your future pathways. Your talents, innovation, and creativity are going to lead to a brighter and stronger STEM workforce. For the PIs, co-PIs, and program staff, your leadership and service are incredible, and you should be proud that you and your institutions are mentoring and preparing the next generation of scientists who, like you, are changing the world. Thank you for your investment in these talented students. I hope that this meeting will also provide you an opportunity to network with other STEM leaders from around the country. Please take this opportunity to share what works for your program, explore solutions to the challenges your program has faced, and maybe even mentor a new PI if you've been a part of the community for a few years. So again, welcome to Chicago and the 2024 STEM Scholars and PI meeting.
Now, I pitched to Sudip that he should end that talk by donning a top hat with, elements and saying science needs you, and he told me no, which I think was probably the right call. I'm very excited to keep us moving in our program and to introduce 2 other speakers to you. But I notice once the lights went out and I could see a little bit better, that there are many of you standing in the back of the room. And because I know you're being very polite and not wanting to disrupt your colleagues, I want to give you the opportunity that if you wish, challenge by choice, there are a lot of seats up towards the front, kind of like in classrooms. Usually up in the front, there's a lot of extra seats. So there's a lot of seats over here that I see. There's some over here. If you want to make your way to find some seats, I just want you to be comfortable as we head into some other remarks so that you can fully embrace the incredibleness of these speakers. And I will not be offended at all as you move around. I'm literally talking a little bit just to try to give you that time to do that. There's seats over. Look at all these helpful folks over here telling you how many seats are at their tables. Genius, scientists being so efficient. Mathematicians over here who can count. For tomorrow, they start tomorrow, right? Oh, they are? Okay. Okay. As you make your way to seats, I'm going to also remind you that we have a couple things throughout the conference that I want to make sure that you're being mindful of. One of them that we introduced last year is backed by overwhelming demand. We are offering professional headshots at the meeting for any of you who, for scholars, as you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to be heading on the job market, or I'm going to be applying to some internships or some amazing programs, and you want to have a fresh look representative for that, for those materials. There are professional headshots available to you. They'll be available throughout the conference so that if you're not look ready today, because maybe this is a travel day for you, you can plan on it for tomorrow. PIs, co-PIs, other leaders, if you, like me, are still using your pre-COVID headshot, I really have to update that. Please feel free to update your own headshots as well. This year, we actually have 2 photographers providing headshots. Last year, we had one and learned quickly that there was a very high demand for these services. So please take advantage. All right. Remember when I said that we were so thankful for the incredible colleagues that we have at the National Science Foundation? It was like 3 minutes ago. Cool. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce one of those people to you right now. And that's Dr. Sylvia Butterfield, who is the Deputy Assistant Director for the National Science Foundation's Directorate for STEM Education. As the Deputy Assistant Director, she oversees aspects of the Directorate, program development, staffing, performance management, and internal and external communications. During her tenure of more than 20 years at NSF, Dr. Butterfield has served in numerous leadership roles in program and administration. Most recently, she completed a 13-month appointment as the Acting Assistant Director for the Directorate for Social, Behavioral, and Economic Sciences, and a 12-month appointment as the Acting Assistant Director for the Directorate of Education and Human Resources, providing oversight for the Directorate's $1.11 billion, with a B, billion-dollar budget, 28 programs, and extensive portfolio of investments in foundational and use-inspired research. Dr. Butterfield is a member of the Senior Executive Service and a 2023 recipient of the Distinguished Executive Presidential Rank Award. Dr. Butterfield holds a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from Loyola University in Maryland, a Master's of Science from Johns Hopkins University, and a doctorate in science education from the Morgan State University. Please join me in welcoming Sylvia to the stage.
Thank you, Travis, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at the first ever STEM Scholars and PI meeting. I want to first commend everyone in attendance. As Travis indicated, we're gathered here from across the nation with over 1,700 scholars, PIs, and program staff representing over 430 active awards. Today provides an opportunity for those of you in the STEM network to collaborate and share knowledge within the community. Your presence at this meeting, making connections, exchanging best practices, and celebrating insights from your collective projects shows your dedication to not only your own work, but to the achievement of STEM education as a whole. And the work you're doing as part of the STEM program is a testament to your ongoing commitment to broadening participation in STEM. NSF's Directorate for STEM Education has a crucial role in funding research that facilitates the development of highly skilled, diverse professionals for the STEM workforce and provides resources designed to keep the public abreast of what comes from this research. Ultimately, we're working to gain a better understanding of how students learn and how we can best reach them, teach them, and keep them engaged in STEM. And STEM plays a crucial role in making that mission possible. As you know, STEM funding is used to support low-income, academically talented students to engage in the STEM enterprise. The program recognizes that in addition to financial support, student participation in evidence-based curricular and co-curricular activities are essential to student success and ensuring their continuance into STEM pathways. I'll just say I was one of those students. And it is because of innovators like you that we can ensure that scholars are supported both in and out of the classrooms. For example, STEM, in collaboration with EDU's Advanced Technological Education Program, or ATE program, is partnering with the Intel Corporation to help prepare the nation's next generation of semiconductor workers. The projects will enable awardees to engage in the Intel with the Intel and subject matter experts to foster a network that supports the acceleration of the semiconductor industry nationwide. Or over at Brookdale Community College in New Jersey, STEM is helping to develop future leaders in data science, engineering, and computer science. At Oakland University, in collaboration with Tuskegee, Auburn, Southern Union State Community College, and Troy University, STEM will fund more than 70 unique full-time students who are pursuing associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees in physics, chemistry, mathematics, computer science, mechanical engineering, software engineering, and electrical engineering. And at Millikan University in Illinois, STEM is supporting the success of STEM students through the Big Blue STEM Scholars Project. The project will provide students with financial support with a special focus on students with financial need and those from groups underrepresented in STEM. In addition to academic funding, students will have the opportunity to receive a summer stipend for research and to participate in professional development and cohort-based coursework in the broader Millikan STEM community. Clearly, STEM is essential to NSF's efforts of creating opportunities everywhere. In closing, we can all agree that it is necessary to invest in the best and the brightest minds across the nation, and that starts with us here in this room. We cannot advance STEM education and opportunities in STEM unless we take on the grand challenges presented in STEM. And that includes continuing to make STEM pathways accessible to all learners, including those who are often prevented from these channels due to financial burdens. Through collaborations with industry and other institutions of higher education, STEM is helping to make that a reality for learners across the country. Thank you for all the work you do to make STEM excellence a priority. I look forward to hearing more about your amazing work. Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to mention that next year, NSF will be celebrating its 75th anniversary. So do look on the website. There will be lots of activities that will be taking place across the nation, and I encourage you all to take part in that. And I will just say, headshot. Get your headshot. Don't wear patterns. That's the second version. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Butterfield, for both the profound remarks and the insightful instructions. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to tonight's keynote speaker, Tiffani Ashley Bell. Tiffani is the founding executive director of The Human Utility, a platform that brings people together from around the world to help people in the United States with their water bills. To date, The Human Utility has helped thousands of people with over $1 million in crowdfunded assistance and is a Y Combinator-based not-for-profit. Previously, Tiffani was the CEO and founder of Pencil You In, enabling over 2,000 local businesses to accept appointments online and bringing many of them online for the first time. In 2017, Tiffani was a Technology and Democracy Fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, researching water affordability and designing a water affordability subsidy. She was a 2014 Code for America Fellow. Tiffani is a programmer who earned a Bachelor's of Science in System and Computer Science from Howard University. As a programmer, she has given back to the profession by keynoting numerous technical conferences. Tiffani graduated in 2021 as a Sloan Fellow from the Stanford Graduate School of Business with a Master's of Science in Management. For those of you thinking about graduate programs, please keep the Sloan Fellows Program on your radar. Tiffani is also a startup innovator with investments in companies such as Phoenix, Gooder, and Charity Vest, amongst others. Please join me in welcoming Tiffani to the stage for tonight's keynote.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chicago. Glad you all got here. So I am extremely grateful that this invitation was extended to me. I didn't do a lot of this when I was at Howard, and I wish I could have. So I am really excited to be here and talk to you, just and give you some tidbits from my life, especially over the last 10 years. This is more of the stuff that I wish that I had heard when I was in college still. And, tonight I would like to talk to you about a few things just to get you to not make the same mistakes that I did and to shore up yourselves personally and professionally in ways that I didn't have back then, but I definitely needed. Again, my name is Tiffani Ashley Bell, and I'm the founder and executive director of a not-for-profit called The Human Utility. We use crowdfunding to be able to assist families with low income, the elderly, the chronically ill, with their water bills when they don't have enough income and resources to pay those on their own. We assist families in 3 states, Maryland, Florida, and Michigan. And we've helped thousands of families with over $1 million in crowdfunded assistance. But over time, we've raised over $4 million just to fund water bills in the organization itself. And we still have most of that. And one of the things I'm proudest of is that we tend to be able to help families when other organizations can't because they run out of money. But when you crowdfund, it's sort of almost an infinite source of money. I earned a computer science degree in 2008 from Howard University, which might seem familiar to these days, and a Master's of Science in Management from Stanford in 2021. When I was at Howard, I actually worked at McDonald's the summer after my freshman year because, again, as a first-generation college student, I didn't know to go to pursue internships. But then I got wise, and I interned at IBM and then HP in Houston for 2 summers. Now I also still use my quantitative skills for the water bill work, but I also dabble in derivatives trading, where the success I've had with that has allowed me to be even more philanthropic on just a personal basis and fund other things I care about, like homelessness. Despite recruiters contacting me every few years, I've never worked at Google or Meta or any of the other well-known tech companies, and that's been by choice. I'm more of an entrepreneur. I don't work well at jobs, and I learned that very early. And so tonight I'll talk to you more about just kind of going the entrepreneurial path. But also doing so and working as an entrepreneur has allowed me to sidestep at times the sexism and the racism that I've experienced when I have had regular jobs. Maintaining my self-respect has actually been worth being sometimes underpaid and not having to put up with what I call Schrodinger's meritocracy, where sometimes the goalposts are one place, and another day they're another. I still code fairly often. Sometimes it's in R, sometimes it's in Ruby, sometimes it's in C. I love my single-letter languages. I'm from North Carolina. I'm a child of two veterans, neither of which went to four-year colleges, which again makes me a first-generation college student. I'm a huge Formula One fan. I've been watching since I was at Howard, and I'm excited to have tickets to see Lewis Hamilton driving that Ferrari around the track next year. Finally, here we go. Finally, I'm 39 years old, and God willing, I'll be 40 years old next year. So, here we go. But, thank you. But with that said, as Travis alluded to earlier, this was actually an extremely difficult talk for me to write, mainly because I realized, without thinking about it, because I've got a lot going on, that I would be giving this talk during one of the most consequential elections of the week of one of the most consequential elections of our lives. And depending on how old you are, you've heard that numerous times at this point, everything is consequential. And it is, but I think it's also why it was important for me to come here and talk to you about my life and my career, and at the end, answer questions that you might have about you and yours. And again, it seems like we keep having the most consequential elections of our lives, but I think that just speaks to the importance of the democratic process and how we can choose to use it to keep improving everyone's standard of living. In the United States, we historically have called that, depending on your interpretation of it, working to form a more perfect union, which is part of the preamble of the US Constitution. So I'm here today as a computer scientist, a programmer, or as Ted once called me, a humanitarian programmer, to share what I've worked on for the last 10 years as my contribution to making this a more perfect union, which I'm choosing to believe that despite some things we might have heard, we can still do. So it was July 2014, and I rolled over one Thursday morning in the really crappy apartment I used to rent in Oakland, California. And I did what I always did as soon as I rolled over every morning. I immediately opened what was then called Twitter and started scrolling. And back then, things were pretty good, so it wasn't doom scrolling. I scrolled, but then something caught my eye. It was a story about how 100,000 people in Detroit were about to have to live without running water because they were simply too poor to pay their water bills. And the city of Detroit's solution at the time was just to turn the water off. And what was happening with water shutoffs that I was reading was especially egregious because of what happens when you do not have running water in your house. You can't take a shower, you can't do dishes, you can't do laundry, and to really break it down, you can't flush toilets. There were senior citizens who, when their water had been shut off, resorted to defecating in plastic bags in their backyards and burying those when they had gone for over a year without running water. One woman that we ended up talking to was cutting her heart medication in half to be able to afford that and her water bills. So water shutoffs were a blow to human health and dignity. But there was another angle that was even worse. And yes, there's worse than pooping in your backyard. There are regulations on the books at national and state levels that say if children are found to be living in a home without running water and electricity, they're actually considered neglected, and they can be taken away and put in foster care. And we have met people who lost their children because they could not afford their water bills. They were not bad parents, they were just poor. Now to backtrack a bit, scrolling on my phone, I should have actually been getting up to go to work at that point. But when you're scrolling, you just kind of lay there. At the time, I was a fellow at Code for America, and that was known for pioneering what was called the civic tech space. And at that time, they ran a fellowship that placed 3 fellows, a user researcher, a designer, and a programmer, into state and local governments to develop some piece of software that can improve service delivery for citizens. My team was assigned to the city of Atlanta, and part of the fellowship included shadowing high-ranking members of city government around City Hall to understand what they did and how they served citizens. It was actually extremely fascinating to go behind the scenes and just even get to know some of the personalities that run your local governments. There's some characters. But to come back to that Thursday morning scrolling Twitter, With everything I'd seen in Atlanta, I wondered how a well-known major city like Detroit could decide to turn the water off on its poorest citizens. So I went to Twitter and I posted to see if anybody knew of any substantial efforts to help the families affected. And as far as I could tell, there were a few scattered GoFundMe accounts and things like that, but no substantial effort at that time going on. So again, I went back to the water company's website, and at the time, they had this 400-page PDF that basically put everybody on blast. If you owed money and they couldn't send you your bill in the mail for some reason, they put your name on this list. And so actually, it wasn't your name. It was your address, how much you owed, and your account number. So I took actually one of those account numbers, and at the time you could do this. You could take an account number and plug that into the utility company's website, and it would show you everything about that person's account, how much they owed, sometimes their name, definitely addresses and things of that sort. But what was also there was a make a payment button. So the insight became, what if we just found people that we actually know their stories, unlike in the PDF, and just connected them to people that actually want to help them with their water bills. And so me and a few other people over Twitter using GitHub and Heroku at the time built this really crappy website to find people that needed help with their water bills. And we would send people instructions on how to go to the utility's website and pay that bill as if you were them. And I did that instead of going to work that morning, which later got me in trouble. It was a whole thing, but I think it was worth it. Over the next 30 days, despite not actually even wanting this to be a thing, we paid over $100K in water bills just from never even collecting actual money. We just would send people to the website. And I always thought of that as a hack that I was exceptionally proud of because it actually pissed some people at the utility off and things like that. But we were helping people. They weren't. So, but again, eventually the utility actually plugged all the holes on the website and things of that sort. But keeping families in their homes and preventing parents from losing custody of their kids, restoring dignity to senior citizens who had been without running water for over a year. You know, I'm not done yet in my life. I'm 39, but I think of that at this point as the most important thing that I've done so far. I've got degrees, I've written papers, I've done this, I've done that, but I think it's more meaningful to have used my programming skills to actually help people just have a basic resource. It's shameful that it was needed, but again, and it remains remarkable to me that all of this happened with some code, creativity, and most importantly, community, which is what you're developing here. And again, connecting people in need who cared to help whatever they could with $5, $500, $5,000. And over time, myself and my assistant manager, Marie, because it's not just me doing this work, have become experts on water affordability and public policy relating to it. We've been able to use our data and our expertise to help local policymakers target assistance for their constituents, to help utilities better understand how to message the parts of their customer base that need help, and to raise awareness for water affordability as an actual problem with serious consequences for public health. I think my background as a computer scientist, someone who went to an HBCU, and developed a sense of myself as a black person very early, not a person of color, but a black person very early, and as a military brat, shaped my views on what people should have a right to. Because as a military brat, my every need was provided for. My parents would never have had their water shut off. We never went without housing or food as a kid. And that perspective told me that everybody should have that, and you shouldn't have to, be in the military to have those basic things. And those experiences have deeply shaped the work I do and what I choose to work on. So in the middle of this talk right now, I'm actually going to make a pitch to some of you. I know I'm now 16 years post-graduation from Howard, and I'll say that not everybody will actually work in your chosen field that you're thinking you'll work in now, and that's not a bad thing. I have some classmates from Howard from the computer science program that one woman, she got an internship after her freshman year. She came back to campus, she changed her major. She didn't want to do that all day long. She wanted to do something else. My best friend from Howard has a chemical engineering degree. She actually is on the facilities management team at the US Capitol building. I have another friend who's a computer engineer. He does network security. My path, I run a charity and I trade derivatives while still writing code every now and then when needed. So some of you should consider using your STEM background for public service. You don't actually have to run for office if you don't picture yourself being, that person, at least not right now. Maybe later. But you can be an advisor of some sort to an elected official. If you still have time for an internship, which I think a lot of you still do, there are members of the US Congress who are actually looking for interns and staffers who have STEM degrees. They don't want just the law school students. And if you don't want to go to Washington, your local politicians will also have you. And it's been done before plenty of times. Angela Merkel, the former chancellor of Germany, earned a PhD in quantum chemistry. If you need a more recent example, Mexico just elected its first female president, Claudia Sheinbaum, and she was a climate scientist with a PhD in energy engineering. And Mexico will benefit from that. And she studied at Berkeley briefly. And closer to home, President Jimmy Carter was into nuclear engineering for the Navy. You can do something like I did and work with government, but not necessarily from within government. Because again, the fellowship I had was for 1 year, and I've been doing this work ever since that ended. Because if you see a problem in your community, you can actually just start doing something about it. You don't need permission. You don't need to ask people, can I help with that? You don't need to. And people will definitely, appreciate that you just got up and did something. And people will start joining you and expanding what you do and your impact. And I can remember, there was going to be haters. And I remember at one utility, we were working with them for a while, but they had some management changes, and those people didn't want them working with us anymore. But their staff enjoyed helping customers, even though they were officially weren't supposed to. So one person started calling us from the bathroom with the things that we needed to be able to help people, because she was so committed to helping people. And that's the kind of enthusiasm you'll get in different ways when you just step up to do something. And I'm not here, of course, because I want all of you to go into public service. I know that's not going to happen. But I would like for some of you to consider it, though. And I also want that for the rest of you to remember that advancing science and technology, however you do it, is still inherently public service. And it's also then political. So regardless of who is in office at whatever levels of government, we need to continue to protect science and engineering. We need to continue to fund education and research to drive society forward. Programs like this. Where we have the democratic opportunity to do so, we should elect leaders who believe in and respect science. And that should be a serious part of how we evaluate them. But one way we protect science and make sure it can continue advancing society, protecting the environment, is again, if we have more scientists and engineers who are shaping public policy. And that's super important right now. We have things like artificial intelligence happening and moving deeper into society. Climate change is a serious issue. We need people in government who understand these things, who actually believe that, yes, climate change is a thing even though it snows. Also want to say it's perfectly okay, though, if you actually just want to make a bunch of money and do whatever you want with that. Lots of people frown on saying that, and you probably wouldn't expect to hear it from me as a person who runs a not-for-profit, but it's fine. It really is. Just do it with some kind of ethical framework behind it. Take time to understand what your values are and know that they will change over time. Because if you make a bunch of money, you can obviously then fund your own work and work from others that you want to see. And again, because I wanted to increase my own earning power and be able to do this, I chose to go to business school during the pandemic, and I aimed for one of the most prestigious schools I could get into, Stanford. One of my regrets, actually, from when I was your age and at school still, was that I didn't go to business school sooner, more so right after Howard. Again, I was kind of aimless. I didn't know what to do sometimes. I'm a firm believer, though, that as an engineer or a scientist, when necessary, when you understand the business behind whatever you're working on, you might be a better scientist and engineer in certain settings. My mistake with previous things I worked on was that I didn't understand the value of what I built because I didn't have that background. But again, for me, this underscores yet another point I want to make. If your time and class schedule allow for it now, take a business class or two. Look into things like classes on intellectual property, cost accounting, learning different kinds of business models, management and running teams, negotiation, and of course, marketing. Because the deal is, if you haven't already, some of you will go on to do work that gets awarded patents, for example, or you'll produce some other piece of intellectual property that has commercial value. You don't want to be in the dark on what that value is for yourself, because surprise, the business people will absolutely know the value of whatever it is you're working on. And you'll be better able to make the case for funding, for promotions, for whatever support you want for yourself and your projects if you learn a little bit of business. You don't have to go get a straight up degree right now. You don't have to change your major. But then also learn to communicate your ideas to lay people. Now, I'm not really, kind of wrapping up, I'm not really a fan of what my coworker used to call success theater, where I just get up here and I tell you how awesome my work is and how awesome my career has been, because it's not at times. It's absolutely not been. But it should be obvious I'm a black woman, and I don't come from a rich family. I'm a first-generation college student. And these things have not always made my path easy. I have dealt with racism and sexism. I cannot think of a recent place in my career where I've not experienced both or either from somebody. So with all that, there have been plenty of moments where my mental health has actually suffered tremendously. And I want to just go ahead and specifically address this to the ladies in the room. What helps me tremendously is being secure enough in myself to know that when I'm treated weird, it's not me. And you have to, if you're not already there, do the work to be secure within yourself, both personally and professionally, to know that you didn't cause that treatment. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You were brilliant. I know that at this point, my accomplishments, my track record, my character make it where I belong wherever I go, and that will be true for all of you as well. You have to be prepared for people not being prepared for you. Now, I've not always been like this. I had pretty low self-esteem as a teenager. I didn't go to prom, that sort of thing. But I knew that about myself, and I used my time at Howard to develop my self-esteem, to affirm myself, to get around people who would affirm me. Sometimes those people were my parents. Other times they were my favorite aunt and uncle. They kept my thoughts expansive. My favorite uncle spoke so much positivity over me that at this point I've had to just live up to all of his positivity that he's had for me. And if you're anything like me, you want to do that. And there was no specific career choice. It was just, you're brilliant. Do the things that you want to do. That's another bit of advice that I have for you. Keep people around you, including people that you meet here, who can tell you the truth and give you hard feedback when you need it, but that can speak life and success over you. I don't care if it's your grandma, your third grade teacher, your coach, all of these people. You need a cheering squad. You need people who will remind you who you are. You'll find over time that the world also is very small. You never know where somebody, even people that you meet here, will be in 5 to 10 years. So keep those people that you can cheer for and that will cheer for you. Now, I mentioned earlier that I interned at HP in Houston. One of my most important career influences was a barely 5'3" black woman named Latasha, who was a senior executive at HP and a Howard Computer Science alum herself. I worked for her in the teams that she managed for 2 summers in 2006, 2007. She was incredibly influential to me because even though I knew I didn't want a regular corporate job at a certain point, she affirmed me and she used her influence at HP to help my career. She wasn't just a mentor, she was a sponsor. She was someone who would send emails for me, put her own credibility on the line to help me get opportunities, and find those people in your life. Don't just allow yourself to be mentored, but have people stick their necks out for you. And also do the work to be deserving of that. But again, I had gotten bored my first summer there, and I actually dared to tell her that one day. But I also told her what I was interested in. So again, she used to manage a team that did the kind of stuff I was interested in. And there was a lot of web development, very early web development stuff back then. So she set up a meeting with them one day, and I thought I was just kind of hanging out with people. And it turned out that was actually an internship interview. So I got a second internship at HP without even actually interviewing. I thought I was just hanging out. But again, she and I actually still keep in touch today. And different people that I'll see will be like, hey, Latasha, I saw Tiffani. Because again, the world is small, and I think I actually might be nearing the age she is when we first met. So that's how the world works a little bit. I hope that when you leave here, you don't forget or let someone discourage you, and that you're capable of all the things you can imagine for yourself and then some. Now, someone mentioned this to me as I was being asked to speak here, and I've talked more about my career in depth elsewhere and further problems. But in those other places, the conversation inevitably turns to imposter syndrome. And I'll offer really quickly a different perspective on this concept. I actually reject that as a concept. And I say to people now when they're like, do you have imposter syndrome when you go somewhere? No, I don't. I actually ask the question, do I have imposter syndrome, or am I being treated like an imposter? And I want you to make sure that you understand the difference and don't internalize how someone's treating you, and have people like I did, my boss, Latasha, who would affirm for me and kind of go through things that had happened and just, sanity check. Was that something weird? Should I feel this way? But again, to wrap this up, I've tried over the last 39 years of my life to make being a nerd actually account for something, actually amount for something other than just good grades and a really big book collection. And that's what I want for all of you, no matter where your STEM path takes you. And it's actually, again, okay if you get to a point where you get off your STEM trajectory, you don't do research, you do something else. Maybe you even become a person who teaches in some STEM discipline. But with that, that's all I have for you. I am happy to answer questions without going for another 30 minutes, as long as they're questions, and also keeping in mind that my experience is more entrepreneurial, and some of the things that I have done will actually not work for everyone, but happy to take questions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Hold on right quick.
I'll start. It's on. Is it on? Oh, it is on. Hi, I'm Alexander. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Let's start with a fun question and then let somebody else do a serious question. Are you hoping for Lando or Verstappen to win this year's Formula One championship?
This is recorded, so I'll not I'll not refer to Verstappen how you normally do, but Lando.
Okay,
Lando.
There you go. There you go. Big Formula
Lando.
One fan. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Cynthia. So my question is, you said about imposter syndrome, if you were being treated as an imposter rather than having imposter syndrome. So my question is, what if you're the one who's treating yourself as the imposter?
That's pretty good. The engineers are deep. I think that's very easy to do, but I think for me, I was in that place when I was in school where I think I didn't have confidence in myself, and I wasn't really raised to. I had two soldiers as parents, and they were very, how come you didn't get the other 4 points when you got a 96? And that's actually not helpful, which I think they thought it was. And I've had to do a lot of work to get to a point of being confident and just say that you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to have all the answers, but you're actually probably doing really well if you're here in a setting like this. And I'll give you a little hack that I used to do. I actually printed a copy of my resume, and I used to put it in a place in my apartment where I had to walk past it every day, and it was by the bathroom, basically. And that, in this weird sort of way, trained me to have confidence in myself, because it's look at all the things that you've done. And you guys are young and, have a lot of things that you'll still do. But I think, again, just thinking about all the things that you've done already and thinking about all the things that you want to do, and know that if you have that kind of vision, you can be confident in yourself and you don't have to treat yourself as the imposter. I also have a friend that used to say, don't work for the rejection committee yourself. Don't reject yourself. Other people will do that for you. You don't have to do that for yourself. So just carry that with you. Go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Muhammad Ali, and I'm from Northern Kentucky University. I just have a quick question. Who is one of your biggest aspiration that is looking like me and you, and why?
Okay. Coming back to Formula One, I've been watching that since like 2006, 2007, basically at the beginning of Lewis Hamilton's career. And as a black person in certain disciplines, you will be the only. And I've been the only in a lot of settings. You know, when I was at Stanford, I was literally the only black person, male or female, in my program. Y Combinator, which is, for folks who are not familiar, it's a startup funding program that's funded Instacart, Dropbox, all those companies. I was one of 2 black women in a room that probably about a fourth of this size, hundreds of founders. It was 2 of us. And I've followed Lewis's career, and he's dealt with a lot of things like racism and classism, and he's always handled that stuff with a lot of grace. So for me, I watch Formula One not just because of the engineering and the drama, but also because I like to follow his example. And, you know, that's, without naming a bunch of people, I think that's the first one that comes to mind for me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I'm Bobby Landenberger from Columbus State Community College and a STEM scholar. Thanks for your talk, very inspiring. And my question is, what is the best advice you've ever received from a mentor?
Best advice I've ever received. I would say it is something like, and it's given to women, wait your turn. Don't wait your turn. Like, if you want to do something, just do it. You know, you don't have to wait to pay dues. I mean, you're going to do that to some degree, but I think people are often told that just so they're kind of held back, and they make you wait your turn. So I've been told, don't do that. So, very simple.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I am a senior going to graduate here in May. I've had the wonderful opportunity of doing internships and being able to work on research projects and things like that. However, I still feel like I'm not prepared to go into the workforce, to go into an architectural engineering field. Though I am learning a lot of things in school, I work next to my boss, who is an architect, and know that I have so much further I need to go to get to where he's at. What would be your advice for that?
What is it that you think you're missing that he has that you don't have? And I would actually ask the question, is that the person that can help you get there?
At the moment, with him running the business by himself and not able to provide me mentorship, no.
Okay.
So I'm in a position where I'm having to teach myself. And it's one of those things of, I will do the work and the research, but I don't know the questions to ask, and I don't have the person to ask them.
Okay, got it. Got it. One thing I would recommend is getting on LinkedIn and messaging people. What is true is that everybody loves helping college students. And so if you just find people who, you know, are in your profession, especially if it's another woman of color, message her and say, hey, I'm doing this thing, I want to work in this field. What do you recommend when you're at this point? And just go beyond your boss. Like, that person is not supposed to limit you, and they're supposed to be helping you, actually. And they're not. So you have to find other people. And again, don't be hesitant to do that. I used to message people all the time and be like, hey, I want to, you know, ask this question. How do you do this? How do you do that? Because again, people, if you do it, if it's kind of the law of large numbers a little bit. Like, if you message enough people, people start writing you back. They'll start offering you opportunities, especially if you send your resume, this is what I'm interested in. But again, just go beyond your boss, but start using the internet to do that.
Thank you.
That's one way. Welcome.
Hi, Ms. Bell. My name is Kimberly Sanabria, and I attend Agnes College.
Before I ask my questions, I want to start off by recognizing that today is National First Gen Day, and congratulations again to getting to that journey.
Nice. I did not know that. Nice.
As a first-generation student myself, I want to ask, as you moved on to your career in different communities and different spaces, how have you built and maintained your relationships with the people closest to you? How do you make sure you don't let go of someone just because you're in a different field, I guess?
I think social media has been really good for that. I'm a heavy Twitter user, and it's been funny to just kind of there are friends that I went to Howard at the same time with that I made friends with after graduating. I've actually also tried to just move to places where people are. I'm a very, I like to go to lunch and that kind of thing. I'm not really a phone person, which I think a lot of people are like that probably at this point. But again, I try to keep up with people by just going places. I'll say, oh, I'm in Chicago, or are you around? I also try to go from time to time to alumni events and just keep up with whatever you feel like going to. I think also just again, mostly for me, it's social media. I'll say that. And texting folks. And just, it doesn't take a lot. Just kind of message people, hey, I thought of you, I saw this. And it's actually really easy to do. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Omar Khan. I'm a master's student pursuing a degree in artificial intelligence. And first I would like to say I love your presentation. I liked how the project you worked on with the water and crowdsourcing, that really touched with me. And the question I wanted to ask was, I recently did a hackathon, and I'd come up with a similar idea where it's crowdsourcing but for public infrastructure in third world countries. So a lot of times, third world countries don't really have the infrastructure or money needed to do repairs around there, like potholes, graffiti, broken down buildings. And I was kind of wondering, if you had to start over and I guess you didn't know anybody, how would you go from there? High level, I know you don't have 30 minutes, but.
Yeah. So go from there as far as where? Attracting donors or finding projects or?
Yeah, nonprofit, of course.
First, I'll say don't do a nonprofit. No. I think what is missing from when we first started was social media in the way that it is now. Everybody's video-based. Twitter was very text-based. And I think, using TikTok, for example, to share, here's a pothole that people have driven through and it's, someone's car was messed up, and just kind of using that to get people to give. I think that's the start. But you've got to suck people into actually being invested. So even, find perhaps the worst possible thing that you can, have someone crowdfund for, but it isn't actually expensive, and build a campaign around that maybe, and kind of go from there. So.
Thank you.
Okay. So I've been told we have time for one more question, but I'll be around all night if you want to talk about anything.
Hello. Sorry, a little nervous. I'm
Sure.
Harris from Mount Mary University in Milwaukee. I appreciate your talk. I just wanted to know, was there any particular significant thing that maybe you can highlight that changed you from the corporate world to nonprofit?
No, I'll say it was an accident. It's just, for raising money and going official, the nonprofit 501c3 structure was the best for raising money, basically. Because the larger amounts that we got, I felt bad that people weren't getting tax write-offs. And again, it's easier to keep track of and be transparent with, which was all we wanted to do. And that was just the easier way to do it. So,
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.